great, iconic, I suppose, shows that have become part of the recent culture. And I'm very, I feel incredibly fortunate to have been part of those two. And they've given me, of course, opportunities to do things like I Came By. So, yeah, I feel very, very fortunate.
This film, so different to what I think a lot of people usually might expect seeing you. Like if you're a lot of people are Downton fans, they're Paddington fans, you've done so much stuff. But this is a really different type of character that might scare people a bit. So is that part of the reason I was thinking maybe you wanted to take on this character? Because he's so different to a lot of things you've done.
Oh, I think he's a first cousin of all of them. Let's face it. I'm playing him, but yeah, no, it was a gripping read, and I was completely hooked from page one, and surprised from about page 5, 6, 7, and 8 onwards. There's so many twists and turns of where your loyalties lie, where you think the story's going, and let's face it, we all start a film or a story or a book thinking, oh, I think I can see where this is going, and I really couldn't see where it was going, and was constantly delighted in that way all the way through.
Yeah. And did you find it easy to step into the shoes of a character like Hector Blake? Do you know what I mean? Because he's got that silhouette with the cricket bat and everything, which feels instantly iconic of this kind of psychopath, really. Was it easy to step into that role?
I wouldn't. I think psychopath's playing it a bit harsh. He's house proud, but I wouldn't call him a psychopath. He certainly wouldn't call him that himself. Yes. Anyway, no, it was really a question of interviewing Babak, scrutinizing Babak Anvari very closely and trying to get to the heart of what he was after and this character that he'd created. And so we had a really good back and forth about trying to get to understand this very upright member of the establishment and actually what was ticking underneath.
Yeah, because he's creepily calm, do you know what I mean? The whole time he's kind of very cool, calm and collected no matter what's going on. So I wondered whether that's something you talked through with Babak to kind of this, I don't know, it's just to me I felt it was creepily calm.
Well, I think I think we put a lot of store by the way people appear in society. So in the uniforms of society, be it a doctor, a priest, or indeed a high court judge in this case. And so there is a sort of natural authority that comes with some of those uniforms, and an expectation of trust and decency and integrity, which luckily Hector has through and through. Mm-hmm. And so people trust him. And if they have any cause to mistrust him, that's a great shame, because he is he's a pillar of the establishment. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's no need to be anything other than unruffled.
Yeah, and you mentioned there's lots of twists and turns in this. There certainly is. There's a great story in this. And then lots of projects you do, like Downton or all these movies, they've got huge stories that people, I assume, don't want you to leak. So talking about these things, is it actually very hard to make sure you don't let anything out that you're not supposed to? I assume there's all sorts of contracts you sign to say, I won't say this and I won't say that.
Well, let's face it, you and I, you've seen the film, so we're both playing a merry little dance here. That because you don't want to spoil the the fun. I mean, the marmalade scene in Act 3 is inevitable when you're playing a character as cuddly as this one.
Yes.
No, it is. It's very hard. I find this probably the hardest show I've ever had to talk about.
Yeah, George McKay is in this. We can talk about him because he's brilliant actor. Was it nice to work with him? What was he like?
Oh, well, I'd worked with George when he was about 12, actually.
Really?
On a BBC show over in Thailand about the tsunami ages ago, and so I felt rather sort of avuncular towards him then, and I feel rather like a proud granddad now to see him emerge in his late 20s now, and such a fine actor. And proper leading man and a great leader on set. To have him at the heart of it was a real treat. And Percelle as well, and Kelly, she's no grandma of the cinema industry, but she's been around a little bit longer than those two.
Yeah, but there's so many great actors in this. But you've worked with so many great actors like Kate Winslet or Sally Hawkins. There's so many. Does anybody on your wish list that you still go, oh, I hope there's a project that comes up with them? Because you've almost worked with so many people. It's almost everybody.
Oh, I've been very, very fortunate over the years. Gosh, there must be millions. I'd love to work with Ray Winston. I'd like to get the full Winston effect.
That'd be amazing. I can see that would be great when you do. You've Golden Globes, Emmy nominations. There's like so much times you've been recognized with these nominations. How does it feel when the word comes in that you've got a nomination for one of these big award shows? Like, is it a big thing for you, or is it just okay? That's grand. Do you know what I mean? Because some people feel it means more to some people than others.
Oh, well, I think when it's been, I think the ones that really land with me is when it's come from your peer group, from the people that you admire and respect and cherish as colleagues, and to have their approbation always means a lot. And it's not about the winning. You have to understand it's about the taking part. Had I won one, I would say it's all about winning. It's
Of
not about
course.
taking part. It's about being nominated. That's all.
You're like, come back to me when I've won, and then I change my tune. Okay. And you mentioned marmalade sandwiches there. In our house with my daughter, with the whole family, Paddington II is a favorite film. It's 99% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, right? This film is just, some people have said it's the most iconic family movie ever. What is it about Paddington II, do you think? That just, it seems to like have superseded the first one, and but become it's rare that a sequel can do that and become the best movie ever in family movies.
I know, and I scratched my head. It was a tough film to make. There's no, I'm not going to be coy about that. It was really rigorous, and it's all down to Paul King, who co-wrote and directed both movies actually, but particularly the second one he steered, and he's the first to. Well, he's incredibly hard on himself as a director, and we'd finish the scene, and 2 days later he'd come back and say, "I ruined that. I'm sorry, I got it all wrong. We need to reshoot that." And luckily in David Heyman and in Studio Canal, you had people behind you who were prepared and could afford to let him do that. And he really worried away at it like a dog with a bone until he got it right, both on the set and in the edit. And so it's all credit to him and the team supporting him. His vision was immaculate and second to none, and he's a genius of a director. But it was a tough old shoot, but it was worth it when you see the pleasure that it's given so many people around the world. And yeah, as you say, it's been hugely popular in terms of the critical reception as well.
Yeah, but the problem is with things like that, a bit like Downton, is people then just immediately jump to the next, and so everybody's wondering Paddington 3. I know today's probably asked you, I don't know, but do you know anything about this? Is it definitely going to happen? Do you think? Would you love it to happen?
Oh, I think there's a great will for it to happen. There were technical issues to do with it not happening this year, but there's talk of it happening next year. They've already announced that it's called Paddington in Peru, so
Yeah,
that gives you a bit of a plot away. Visit to Aunt Lucy presumably is in the offing. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But it's not there yet, and lots of planets have to align.
yeah. Are you enjoying this stage of your career where you can do all these brilliant new projects like I Came By, but you also have these classics like Lord Grantham or Paddington that you can go back to and, do you know what I mean, get back into those characters? You're at a stage where you have these iconic things you can just jump back into, but do all these brilliant new projects too. Is it nice?
Oh, of course, I feel very, very fortunate. I don't know whether there'll be any more Downton or indeed Paddington necessarily, but they are great, iconic, I suppose, shows that have become part of the recent culture. And I'm I feel incredibly fortunate to be in part of those two. And they've given me, of course, opportunities to do things like I Came By. So, yeah, I feel very, very fortunate indeed.
Well, listen, you congratulations on I Came By and all your success, and thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much. Cheers.